Hi, Jay Brazeau here, a legend in my own mind. I've done a lot of stuff I've been really proud of, and the few things I haven't. I've done Stargate, MacGyver, a whole lot of just IMDb. You'll figure it out. And you're listening to the MacGyver podcast with Mac Jackson.
Hi, I'm Richard Dean Anderson.
Name's MacGyver.
Colonel Jack O'Neill, SG-1.
My name is Pratt, Ernest Pratt.
I always get a happy, tingly feeling when I see those guys.
Name one contract that I failed to execute.
MacGyver.
Oh, here we go.
You're a target, and I don't intend to miss.
Over my rotting corpse. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Glowing eyes, cliche behavior, evilness, that kind of thing.
Is mental illness contagious?
You think?
You can do anything you want to do if you put your mind.
Well, you do have a penchant for pulling brilliant ideas out of your butt. Head. Out of your head when we need them. Oh, the stuff's already here. I just find a different way to use it.
I like your attitude.
Permission to take a team through the Stargate, sir.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the MacGyver podcast. I'm your host, Mac Jackson. And today I'm thrilled to have someone who not only has been on MacGyver, but has also been on 2 Stargate shows. So besides all the other many things I could point to that he's done, those are the ones that, well, apply to this podcast. So it's Jay Brazeau. Thank you for being here, Jay.
Hey, Mac, yes, I owe a lot of money. That's why I tend to work a lot.
Well, you know, it's funny because a lot of people with a great franchise, if you do like a memorable character that maybe makes such an impression like Harlan on Stargate, people will go, that's Harlan. Well,
Oh, no.
you know, I could do that, but I also remember season 3 of MacGyver when you were in Killzone and you're in the office with Pete Thornton, you know, and I remember saying that to you and going, "Hey, look who I'm looking at." And you're like, "He has a lot of hair ago."
Exactly. Young. Oh my, I was so young.
But you know, I'll tell you, and I know we're going to go off on tangents, and that's fine. But I wanted to tell you, I've always been impressed, and I know this is the job of an actor, but you in particular, you have done, and I'm just thinking Stargate and MacGyver, you could do a bad guy really well, and then be Harlan on Stargate. You know, and that come Troya and just happy and jovial. And then, you know, I remember watching that the first time when it first aired and going, that's the guy that was the drug dealer guy on you know, MacGyver season 6. The Gun was the name of the episode.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right? And you and I'll tell you, you were pretty menacing as that guy because you were very serious and very, you know, you played it very determined as I guess a gun dealer would. And then to see the opposite, I had to remind myself that's the same guy.
I think that's a great thing about being a character actor, right? That, well, first of all, nobody goes through your garbage because nobody knows who you are. There's that guy. And I remember long ago, I was working and Fiddle on the Roof and I had a big beard and everything. I was in Halifax walking down the street up in Canada and somebody yelled, "Hey," and I looked around and this guy said, you know, come try.
Really?
Yes, they was able to see all that, you know. It's just is that you're just one of those people. It's great being a character actor, you know.
Yeah.
You don't always have to have the entire burden of the entire show on your back, right? So it's like visiting relatives. You know, you only have to come in for 4 days and leave, you know, and you know, it's wonderful. I've really been lucky to enjoy a life as a character actor, and I'm still doing it, even in this pandemic, which is crazy.
I know.
So it's but you're only as good as the material you have. in the words you have to say, you know.
That's true.
And you know, it's knowing that when you come into something, for example, you're there to service the piece, right? You're the best friend of the guy who's going through all the problems. So that's what you're doing. You're there to help him out and you're there to do everything. Your job is not to take on everything, you know. And I have done leading roles too, but it's great to be a character actor.
It's funny too, because you're right. I think it's that, and I've seen that where it doesn't work that way, where you realize that you're part of a team for the end product. And you can always tell when there are co-stars, and I've faced a few myself, where they are supposed to be the best friend, but they think that they are the center. So even if they're not with the spotlight, they're still trying to like nudge their way into your moment, you know?
No, exactly. Yes.
I remember
that's a whole other thing. For me, the greatest thing for me is like, you know, is you get to just go in and go out and, you know, I don't really want to be recognized. I don't want all that kind of stuff. I just really want to be able to focus on what I do and to add to the story. And that's what makes it really wonderful, you know.
And you notice the difference too.
For me as an actor.
Well, you know? This is what I'm saying. Like you're very good at you have your prerogative in the right place.
Yes.
You know that you're part of a team and you care about the art of acting. Yeah. There's a couple people who I can think of who understand that, and it can be very, you know, well, you said doing Fiddler on the Roof, which is very much like if you're going to do plays, you're going to do Shakespeare, you're going to do Fiddler on the, you have to hit all the major beats, I think. I mean, if you're but you have to realize too that I will never play Hamlet. I will never play Romeo and Juliet. And in some ways, I don't really want those things. It's wonderful to be just the guy who comes on a very important. It's like being Santa Claus once a year, you know. It's great, you're Santa Claus, but you don't have to be worrying about being Santa Claus from July through to August or whatever. You just come that once a year. Everybody appreciates what you do. You come in and then you leave. And that's what being a character actor is sort of like, you know. There's nothing better and one of the really great special things is sometimes they put about 5 of you together in a movie or a play or something like that. And it's so wonderful to share, to see all these characters, you know. It's you see a lot of that in the old days, old Billy Wilder films and stuff like that. There were a lot of funny guys. You remember these character people, you know. You remember Andy Devine, all those guys. There was one Swedish guy who said, "Oh, if you're talking like this all the time." I don't remember his name, but you know, they were always there, even right to the end. From when they were really young, you find them and see them in something that was done in 1930s, and suddenly they'll turn up in something again in 1971 or 19. Their life is as an actor can travel for a long time, even sometimes longer than people who do leads. And sometimes your stuff is more interesting. Oh yeah,
for the character actor than to be the leading guy who gets the girl and everything, you know.
And then you also can avoid being pigeonholed.
Exactly.
You know, here's a good example: the guy who's the bartender in "It's a Wonderful Life." You know,
yes.
I'll split your lip or I'll slip you my wrist as a convincer. That guy, you know him anywhere. I see him in the background of Guys and Dolls with Frank Sinatra.
Exactly,
you know, I'm watching just on YouTube because it's done so well. Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat, right?
Oh, sit down. Yeah.
Right? Great song, great performance, gives me chills every time.
You don't want to be the leads. I played nicely 2 or 3 times, and I tell you, it's great because, you know, you're just this guy in the background. Then suddenly at 11 o'clock at night, you get the 11 o'clock at night number, right? You're up there and you're singing, you know, sit down, you're rocking the boat, and the place is going nuts. And that's all you really need, you know.
It's one of my favorite songs from that whole darn thing, too.
Oh, yeah. And what's really interesting is you bring up It's a Wonderful Life, right? Now, I'll ask you this question. What is, whose story is it in It's a Wonderful Life?
Whose story is it?
Who do we think of all the time? We think of the, so it's,
well, everybody thinks about.
Is it? Well, we really think a lot of people say it's Jimmy Stewart's life
yeah.
about what it is, right? The whole movie, the way it starts out is it's not really his story.
Right.
It's Clarence's story.
Yep.
Clarence is the angel. It
Mhm.
starts off, the whole movie starts off talking about Clarence, about this, going through Clarence needing his wings. It's a way of Clarence to get his wings, right?
Yeah.
But really, what's really is interesting about that, and Clarence, the guy playing Clarence, is a wonderful character actor and so beautiful, lovely, you know.
Mhm.
And who could ask for something better than that? You know, it's great.
Well, for me, I didn't, when I originally saw, everybody talked about It's a Wonderful Life, and I was a teenager, and I was like, you know, I'm doing all these plays and musicals. I should probably hit some of the classics. At some point, I have to watch It's a Wonderful Life. Well,
Yeah.
it's on TV, but I catch the second half. I see the moment where he's about to jump off the bridge, and that's when Clarence comes in. I'm like, I love this movie. And then years later, I see it from the beginning. And when you see it from the beginning, I'm like, oh, the first half is kind of boring in comparison because it's all build up to that moment.
Exactly. I know.
You know, but you know, my wife, it's her favorite Christmas movie, so we have to watch it every year.
Well, mine too. You know, it used to be until the kids we changed to Die Hard. You know?
Oh man, I have people trying to debate that with me. Is it a Christmas movie or not? I don't know about you. I say it's not.
Oh yeah, I know.
Right? Because it's not important to the plot, whereas a Christmas movie, it's all about Christmas.
Yeah.
But
it's like Christmas Carol. My wife makes me watch Christmas Carol every Christmas, and it just drives me nuts because I can't relate to it at all. You know, Scrooge. I mean, the Scrooge I can relate to, right? But I can't get a whole right. I mean, it's interesting. All these characters going, oh, well, all that stuff, right? But it just isn't me, you know. And I remember I always get asked to play Scrooge all the time, and I said no, I don't, because I don't think people relate to that in a way. Maybe if the Christmas Carol, I could play Trump or something. Once playing a Scrooge or something that we could all relate to. But it's just, but that was what you grew up with, right?
Well,
it's part of her tradition. Right?
Yeah, it depends.
You know?
I mean, for me, it depends
and
on
it's interesting, but that's something, an interesting character, you know, is being those guys. The best honor you can get is saying, hey, you're that guy in the movie. You know, I want people say, you know, I know you're what's his name, you know, you're an actor, yeah. And I see I'm Jay Brazeau, I did so. And then they go, no, not that. And you were it's no.
Like, no, I don't want to talk about that one.
I know. And then sometimes you go into Blockbuster, you know, I remember the old Blockbuster when it was still around. A guy, I want to go through it again. So has anybody ever told you look like that guy in Double Jeopardy? And I said, I do, you know, and which all along was going along with it. Yeah. And I said, you know what? And I rented out the movie, and really, I'm gonna have to watch it. And she says, yeah, check it out, because he's a really good actor, this guy. You really like him. You know? I guess I was maybe pulling his leg. Mind you, he was like about 16 or 17 and probably never even heard of Christmas Carol or anything before that, or even The Fugitive or whatever, you know.
Well, I was talking about doing plays and doing like Fiddler on the Roof. I was talking it wasn't last October. It was the end of October before the pandemic. I was talking to Austin Pendleton and Hal Holbrook at a convention.
Oh my God, great.
Yeah, in New Jersey. So there was a bomb scare. I was there to see Richard Dean Anderson, and there's a bomb scare. So we all had to file out of the hotel. We spent like 2 hours shooting the bull. And they were telling me all about when they had to do, Fiddler on the Roof and talking about the director that they had.
Oh my God, yeah.
It was a heck of a, it was great to be the little fly on the wall.
Oh, Hal Holbrook example started on the stage. I mean, with him and Mark Twain, all those things. That is great. I mean, I got stuck with Martin Landau for half an hour once, right? And I could just talk to him about everything. And he was the one who was telling me about. He told me about playing Bela Lugosi before it was even out, you know. But we started. One of my favorite films was Woody Allen's Crimes and Misdemeanors. Yes, I thought he was brilliant in it, you know. And of course, in Spay and all those old things he did on TV and stuff like that. A really brilliant actor,
Oh yeah, every time Ed TV is on, he's in that, and he steals the show. I mean, he's not the lead, but he's the stepfather, and you cry during his scenes.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Hollywood is filled with tons of people. I remember reading about stuff like you hear about these older actors and everything, and they go, why aren't they working? Why are they just like they're just painting pictures of clowns, or they're just doing paintings and trying to sell them? I'm thinking, well, why aren't they working? It's because people forget about them, right?
Well,
and and that's to do, and about what they've done, right? And it was really kind of sad to me after a while. Lucky for people, Quentin Tarantino, I still remember people and try to bring them back, and people like Robert Forster started coming again and everything. But there are I remember Henry, right, who's a wonderful writer and an actor. I remember like running across him on Facebook somehow, and I just that particular week I had seen The Graduate, I had seen the Warren Beatty film, and I think the stuff on, and I was showing some of the stuff to my kids, and I just said, Mr. Hernandez, I'm sorry, I'm not a stalker or anything. I said, I just want to thank you. This is my week has been, and he accepted me as a friend, and I started talking to him and found out we just knew the same people, and that's who they are. They're just people like us, right?
Yeah.
And you can't forget it. One of my a friend of mine, his best friend is Nemaya Persoff. And Nemaya Persoff was 101 years old and was a wonderful character actor, very famous, and Some Like It Hot, played the lead mob guy. And him, he was also, he was the guy who told me that he was lucky to meet somebody like that. And he told me about, he was the scene, I could have been somebody, I could have been a contender. Right? Yeah. You remember that with Marlon Brando and Rod Steiger? And I said, well, I don't remember the scene. He says, I was driving the cab. And he was the guy who was driving the cab. Told me about the whole scene, told me stuff I never told me, that Marlon Brando had left early and that Rod Steiger did all his stuff, right, to the script supervisor.
Really?
And you would never know that. Yes.
No.
Amazing. But yet, that's the magic of acting, the magic of the business, right?
Yeah.
But he was there, and that's how that was his life, a character actor, and he's still alive and doing stuff, and this wonderful person, just a great guy.
I had Larry Hankin on my other podcast the other day, and he's the same way. He was telling me all about, everybody knows him from like being on a couple episodes of Friends or Seinfeld or whatever. But he's telling me, we're talking about him working with Clint Eastwood in Escape from Alcatraz, I think it was.
Wow. Yeah.
And he's saying, oh yeah, that was when Clint Eastwood first directed. What? He goes, yeah, he doesn't necessarily get credited, but he came in on the day that the director says it's all yours, and he shot a scene. And he came in all dressed properly, and all those little nuggets. I love.
Yes.
I'm a
That's
guy.
History.
I'll get like I'll buy a DVD of a movie I know by heart just because of the extras. Yeah. Like to have the conversation.
Exactly. And that's the great thing about it. That's the wonderful thing about it. For them to tell something totally, for him to say something like, I remember somebody telling me about, he was there when they shot Dirty Harry, right? And the scene where, I've got a so-and-so here.
Sure.
I don't know the words, right?
There's a couple of them.
He does on the other guy. I don't know.
Where he goes,
I don't know the other actor's name, but he said the other guy.
Was it?
Yeah, I don't know the speech, but it's an amazing speech, a famous speech. But he said they had to go through with the other guy, the speech, he'd been high on something or whatever, and they just had to give him the lines one by one. That's what they do when somebody's drunk or something, whatever. But you would never know that. But still, it's, it's these little things, these neat things. That's what the things I love most about renting a DVD or renting a Blu-ray is, and especially on certain things, like they show you the way the original movie was supposed to end. That's why I love the 70s, because they're the type of that all those movies are just great because they didn't screw around with the endings, like they didn't wait for everybody to see it and then to fill up the cards and everything. So we've got to change this. No, she can't be a hooker now. She ends up, she was be faking she's a hooker, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So there are a lot of gems out there. And that's how I really learned about acting. was
Yeah.
I didn't go to acting school or anything. I have a grade 11 education. I just sort of ventured into it. Somebody needed somebody to play guitar, and they said, "Oh, well, I don't know if I want to be on stage." They said, "Well, we'll give you a line," and they said, "What is it?" And it was screw. Well, the word wasn't screw, but it was I'll say now, screw the cops.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I said, "I'll do it." You know? But that's how you learn. You learn by being around these people, by watching them. And for me, that was a way of learning how to act, you know.
Well,
And that's how you learn about working with the MacGyver thing, right? When I was first cast for that, they weren't sure. He said because they needed somebody who could stand up to Dana, right? Because a lot of those scenes would be with me and Dana except Richard was doing his other stuff, you know. They would cut away to him.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience just working with him.
So,
and when somebody's like that and they treat you as an equal, there's no such thing as just like, I'm the star and you're this. No, it was like, we're two people, we're acting together. How can we make this better? And those are the people to me are stars in my mind.
and they're also the same people that call you back because they remember, hey, wait, you're one of us. You're a good soul.
Exactly.
You're a good person that we appreciate being around. And I've had stories told to me where, you know why you didn't see that actor again? I'll tell you why you didn't see that actor, because he wasn't fun to work with. If they get like arrogant, and demand to have stuff, you go, oh, well, this is a one and done. You're not coming back again.
I know. I just want the red M&Ms. I just want the red Smarties. Stuff like that doesn't make sense. No. On the old days, I remember being on set and you're waiting for the lead actor and you're waiting for them to come out of the trailer or something. You're waiting for something to renegotiate because their trailer is bigger. Somebody else's trailer is bigger than that. You can't do that anymore. Right. It's a lot different. And you can't hire that anymore, I do a lot of Hallmark movies,
Yes, you do.
Hallmark movies. But for the simple reason is that nobody gets shot and there's no nothing. And you're working with a lot of people, local people are hired up here in Canada and stuff. And it's a really nice pleasure. It's just going to work every year. You're doing something and you know that people love the product that you're putting out there, regardless of whatever, And it's really nice to do that every once in a while, Well, it's great to be able to work with somebody. The greatest thing is is meeting somebody who you just praise and love so much and everything, and you get to work with them, and it's just beautiful,
And they tend to be if they're just as great in person as they were in your head. It kind of
like Richard from MacGyver, MacGyver, right? He was the guy I know was like. They were always trying to get down, stop climbing up there. If you fall down, we're gonna get sued. You couldn't, it was always disappearing and doing things that weren't, he was just so good. And he was the same thing happened with Stargate. When I did the thing about the Harlan, right? They had never done any comedy on the show ever, right?
Right.
And they'd written this part, and they just, I didn't even audition for it. I think they offered it to me. And it was just such a well-written piece, and it was really just me and them through the whole show practically. And it really pulled off the funny side, a comedic side to Stargate, which was really great. It was so much fun that I went back, I think about 2 or 3 seasons later and repeated the same role.
Yeah, thank God.
And it was such a wonderful character to be.
Yeah. It really was. And,
lovely,
to have you there during the first season, you're right. Because that episode stands out for a bunch of reasons. But one of them is, you come out as this innocent guy who seems simple, but there's a more complex stuff that we don't know yet. And you're right. With the comedy, it's not overplayed. It's just, it feels natural.
Well, he was a bad guy in a sense, right? Yeah. He took half of them, right? Made them into robots, and then we put them away. And said, I'm sorry, I can't take you back. You're just really a robot, But
he was like almost the guy, like really. He was like a child.
Well, come and play with me.
Yeah,
he needed somebody to play with him, right?
Yeah,
and that made him a kind of interesting, and just stupid things that came out of that. This whole Comtria thing, and this whole thing, Comtria. These little things like that, and it was a wonderful experience. And working with them was so much fun because they were to play with them. it was an honest reaction to them. You know, it was really they went along for the ride, right?
Yeah.
And it ended up being, you know, you get these feelings sometimes, you know, like, wow, I really love it. I hope that this doesn't screw up. It doesn't turn out to be bad. But from the moment I read it and started playing it, I just had so much fun. And when I saw the thing for the first time afterwards, I was almost crying because it was so beautiful. It was you know, it's not often that things turn out well, right? And it did. And it's something, you know, the great thing about it's different than plays. Plays, you can do that, but they're gone. They're up here, right? But that's something you can always say. And I've done a lot of rotten stuff, right? That's there, and that will never change. And it's good. And when that happens, that's what the acting is all about.
Well, I'll tell you, for me, your philosophy mirrors a lot of what I try to remind myself about.
Yeah.
Because like yourself, I've been involved in projects that either didn't get off the ground or did and maybe didn't work out as well as they were supposed to. Maybe they had bad marketing or, you know.
Yeah.
But you have to keep yourself, like you said, when you do live, like I've done musicals and plays, and that's, you're there, but it's gone. The moment it's over.
Yes, that's right.
You know, and you're like, okay, that was great. What do you mean it's gone forever? I can't, you know, but with TV, you're like, oh, I could rewatch that, which could be a good thing. Or if you're really nitpicky about yourself, you go, I don't really want to watch myself because I know what I was thinking during that moment.
Yes, yeah. But an interesting about being in a play, it's like this baby, and you give it and you give it this thing, and then you present it to the audience, and it's great, and it's all there, and it matures all the way there, right? Being in a movie sometimes it's like having this baby, and you all do this performance great, and then you give the baby away, and you don't see it for 6 months, and you come back and there's no, like, you know, you're a baby anymore, you know. It's a totally different thing. And you know, I mean, I could tell that from you is why are we actors? What makes us actors different? Well, for me it was you know, I remember saying to my mom one time, coming home, I was about 10 years old. So, Mom, I want to be an actor. And my mom said, you can't act. And I said, why? She said, you don't look like Paul Newman. You know, so I was like saying, who the F is Paul Newman? You know, no, I don't want to know who that guy is. You know, but for me, it was when you're an actor, it's you may be poor or whatever you are, but you're experiencing other people's lives, right? And you're partially crazy too, right? You must be a little crazy, right? And suddenly you get to meet other people who are crazy like you, and you put them all in the same room and you make art, right?
Right.
It's a wonderful thing to be an artist, right?
Yeah.
And even later on, as you get older and everything, people forget about you a little bit and something and everything, you know. This particular year, I thought I really hung up my acting thing because I thought, you know, as I said, I'm older now. There's no more character parts, no more something. I hadn't done a play in about 60 years, you know, and pandemic was on. This is the end of theater and everything anyway. And all of a sudden in September, people were making movies again. And I made 2 movies back to back. One I didn't even have to audition for, and a zombie series. So it's a strange thing about being an actor. You are,
well, yeah,
your life is over or something. But you know, the thing about now is I can control it. But sometimes, you know, that's some of these people, they can't control being an actor, right? And they want to, how do I describe it? And it ends up, you know, when things go bad, all these people are around you, all these people, your publicity people, your friends, oh, you're great. No, you're not bad at all. Though. And suddenly, if you make 1 or 2, 3 bad movies, those people disappear. And like little bugs, they go bite somebody else, you know?
Yeah,
and
because it's about the money, you know?
If your ego is so big, they can't figure out it's me. Why not? The Lindsay Owen can't figure out it's her, right? And I was lucky enough to have kids. And, you know, with kids, they don't care if you're playing Hamlet at night. I'm hungry. I want a boob. I want this, you know. And you have to be able to separate yourself from that. So for me, for having children, made me a better actor, made me a better person.
I tell you, since being a dad, I am so much more emotional, which which is good on some level for being creative. But on another, I cry at the drop of a hat. Like, oh,
Exactly. Yeah. I know.
you post things. Actually, I was going to tell you, I love all the
Oh.
things that you post on Facebook, but they're, they could be funny, but you also post things that are touching. And I'm like,
Oh, well, exactly. I say, bring up the Kleenex. I'm 60, 66, 67 years old, and I probably cry and laugh every day.
which is good.
And I think that's important because it means I still have something in me. I still have feeling in me,
Yeah. Well, like you were saying about, being an actor and wanting to create, I think humility is one of the key factors.
Yeah.
Because anything I do, basically, here's my philosophy.
Mm.
I want to matter. I want to know that when I'm gone, that I hopefully made the world a little better,
Yes.
whether it's by
That's exactly, yeah.
acting or music or this podcast, whatever. If I can make somebody's day a little bit better, my day is
right.
made.
That's what it's all about. Yes.
And if you're lucky, you make friendships along the way with like-minded people.
Exactly.
And you go, okay, so for example, a lot of people who've done the podcast have stayed in touch with me because, again, like-minded people. And it's not about the show business. It's about the spirits,
Yes.
people that connect. And I go, that's what this is all about. It's great to talk about whatever, but if you can make a connection with another soul and it's sincere,
Yeah.
that it's worth it. It's,
I remember working with Annabeth Gish, I think. Annabeth Gish, is that her name?
Yeah.
Annabeth Gish. And when she was 12 years old, we did a movie together. They called it the Monkey Movie. It was terrible. It was a Walt Disney movie about a monkey who went to space. And then I worked with her again in Double Jeopardy, and we get some. It was great. We could see each other again. And then I called in for a day. Somebody got fired, and I had to learn all these lines on my way down to this set. And I just replaced somebody on Shrinkers. I was played a shrink, but Annabeth was there. It was great, and it was like, and we went out for supper. We talked about kids and everything. And I was looking at her, and I was thinking, we're talking about. I know if we would know, we would have been here. Like I saw you when 12 years old, and here we are sharing something together.
Yeah,
and that's the greatest things that can happen. And I think that's friends you make in this business of being an artist. You don't see them maybe sometimes, for 40 years, but you're able to pick up exactly from where you are from the last time you were.
Right.
Because you say, okay, let's do this scene now. You know what I mean? It's just, that is a wonderful experience. It's a great life.
And I'll tell you, as much as social media can be a bad thing, it can also be, if you use it properly, it's a wonderful thing. Just to be able to keep in touch and to drop a note here and there, that's worth it. That's how I think it should be used.
I know the first time I met Don Davies, right, was on MacGyver. And he was the stand-in for Dana, right? Yep. And everything. And he would talk like this, I don't know about this acting thing, Jay, but I don't know, And first thing he started acting, and first thing next time we see him on Stargate, Jay Brazeau,
You sound like
my
him.
wife,
really
I tell you, my wife, and we did a couple of movies together, and he was such a wonderful man.
He really was. I
just cried when he died. He passed away. It was so hard.
Yeah.
Because he was just left. I just spoke to him, and I said, well, he just went to the doctor, and he said, oh yeah, I'm fine. The ticker's fine. He had had a heart attack before. He said, I'm just fine, and he found somebody new in his life that he loves. And then it was like a week later, I think we saw an audition. He passed away, and that's the hard part about what's the hard part about life, and it's the hard part about getting older.
Yeah.
That well,
but
it continues, right? He's still there.
Oh yeah,
He's in Stargate universe. He's still alive.
Yep.
Right.
And loved
Twin Peaks and loved, a lovely man.
I got to meet him. He was so sweet. I would see him at before my son was born. My wife and I would go to Stargate conventions. And he was there, and we hit it off because, again, just a sweet guy. There's no arrogance about him. And he would see us in the lobby from, he remembered us from the night before, and he'd walk over. Good morning. How you doing?
Exactly.
How you folks? And we got talking. Well, the next year, he would see us and come running up to us, and everybody's gathering around him because he's Don Davis, General Hammond.
Yes.
But he sees us and goes, pardon me for a second. I see some friends of mine. He comes walking over. Mac, how are you? And we're like, great, Don. Holy, you don't expect people to necessarily remember you with them.
Exactly.
You have a busy life. You're meeting hundreds of people. I mean, I'm sure it's the same for you with, you go on a set.
He's a person first and an actor second, And it was all about enjoy of life. And it was an amazing man. And, and that's why, I remember when you go back, I was like to do twice to do a MacGyver,
Yeah.
I was playing the bad guy. One of my friends who was supposed to be the guy below me, I was yelling at all the time, threatening to kill or something.
Yep.
Jerry Wasserman. He plays the bad guys all the time. He kills more people. I don't know. And even people like me. So it was really amazing for me to actually be the head guy and meet the guy who got rid of him. It was a wonderful experience. You work for those. Everybody talked about you got to work on the MacGyver show. It's great.
Really?
Everybody, I mean, that show ran for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And am I wrong about this? Henry Winkler was produced. Partially was Henry Winkler was assigned a producer on it, right?
Henry Winkler was the guy who picked Richard Dean Anderson to be MacGyver because of you know what, we can model MacGyver after this guy because Richard is so sincere, and the way Henry Winkler tells it is, there's guys in the waiting room to audition, and they're big Italian muscle-bound guys. Because you got to remember, it's mid-'80s, so everybody was muscle-bound and tanned. Well, Richard comes in, and he's just himself. He's wearing the exact same brown leather jacket that he wore on the show, and auditions, and they went, "Wow, he's real. He's not acting.
Exactly.
He's just being himself. Let's do this guy." And the same thing with Stargate. If you get a decent person, you don't necessarily have to write for them. You kind of write about them.
Yes, right.
Right.
And people identify with you. That guy's like a guy I know. He's like so-and-so. I'm like that guy. I'm, Richard, and I can relate to that,
Absolutely. And that's
that's what people, when they watch these things,
By the time you came on,
it's funny, because after that,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was funny because it's funny because I did this thing called Dead Man's Gun, which later on I never got to meet Henry Winkler. Everybody, I heard just great, wonderful stories about what a nice guy he was, and then I got to meet him and actually be in the and just act with him. He was such a nice guy. He was fabulous, I had trouble getting down there. I said, "Well, no, you can come on the same thing I'm coming down. You can come. I'll give you a ride down to set." And it was fine. It was great. And later on, he phoned up me, and I wasn't home, to thank me for being on the show. But he ends up talking to my wife for 20 minutes. And it was, he's just like, he is the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
And it's people like that. That's why you'll go anywhere for them. You'll do anything for them. It's like Stargate, you do anything for them because Stargate's like MacGyver is just something. It became like the bonanza for me, the show you always watched because you always enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. It was always looked. And later on with Stargate, it looked fantastic. I was watching a new movie, a science fiction movie every week.
Perfectly said.
It was all the people, Brad, and all those people who put those things together, the producers, they were always really wonderful and protective of what they were doing, and that's why they ran so long.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. Well, I had Stephen Downing on, and like you said, it starts at the top, and if you're good and you're sincere, everything else flows down, just like they say crap runs downhill. Well, so does the good. Yeah. And these are good people who then, a lot of them from MacGyver ended up shifting over to working on Stargate. Yes. And you go, there it is. They're all focused on the end product and not egos. It's not about it. I have to get credit for it. It's let me put out the best product I can.
Exactly.
All right.
And the thing about them is you end up auditioning for these people again. It's not like you get mad if they don't hire you. They have to hire. It's just that they're always waiting for something to come along. That when they told me about Stargate, it was that they were just waiting for, it was they knew that they practically designed it for me. They wrote it for me, right?
Yeah.
And you'll do anything for people like that. You'll walk around with no clothes on if you have to, And that's when the business is really great. That's when you're really proud of being in this business and that. to know that there is really good people out there who are artists themselves, just
Well,
like, I mean, yeah.
I'm often told that Richard Dean Anderson, because they made him a producer. He became like the producer on MacGyver in the later seasons. And then when they were doing Stargate, they're like, well, you need to be one of the people in charge. So one of the things that he would do, I was told, was he would go, you know what? I remember that actor from MacGyver and I liked him. Let's bring him. Like Don Davis got the part of General Hammond because they wanted someone who could have authority. And he goes, I know a guy who is a stand-in and kind of looks like my old boss on MacGyver. So maybe we can get him.
A smart idea, smart idea,
Yeah. It's funny too. I apologize. There is a delay, I think, where I'm saying something, but it's coming to you like 3 seconds later. I apologize because you're in the middle of saying something and it's cutting you off. So it must be the distance.
Don't worry, I'm married. I know what it's like.
One of the things you were saying, I heard you mention Tarantino. The line got interrupted.
I was talking about Tarantino remembering. He's the guy who remembers all these old guys from films and stuff like that. Like in rejuvenating. Was it Robert Foxworth or who was the lead in the Pam Grier? No, Pam Grier.
Oh yeah.
Jackie Brown or something.
Yep, Jackie Brown.
Foxworth. And then again, he another great actor, wonderful actor. And we're able to see these people again on film. Yeah. Bruce Dern. Remember, he was for the longest time, and now he's back there making movie after movie. Fabulous,
Well, I think you were talking about how, you worry about being forgotten.
Yeah.
I think it can happen, but I don't know because and again, not kissing butt when I say this, but you're like you said, a recognizable character actor who hasn't just done a lot, but you've done a lot well. So like you were talking about doing your first appearance on MacGyver, you stood out because exactly of what you said. You had to stand up to Dana and come off like authority. Like, it doesn't matter what you say, I'm still, and you did it well because for years after, even before you were on the second time, I remembered your characters being like, ooh, he's kind of a scary dude.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. I think it can happen if you let it happen, but I think correct me if I'm wrong, but do you have to audition a lot now, or do people remember and just go, oh, get him?
Well, it all depends. The director's a lot younger, I was on a set recently where I was talking, I thought there was a grip. It turned out it was the director. I didn't even know, right? It just happens that way, and people don't remember, but there are people like Tarantino and like that who just watch a lot of older stuff, and and sometimes you're on a film, when you're going on a film, it runs like itself, right? So something breaks, so you're just filling in something, you're part of a mechanism that has to work this way, right? So you have to do two things. You have to be like, if it's an engine, you're part and the old part broke and you're in the new part, but you're sort of a different kind of part, but you still got to make it work like an engine. But it doesn't mean when you had things like Stargate, or you had things like Supernatural, or you had things like MacGyver, where they allowed you freedom to go a bit further, say, oh, wow, you could try this, or you can say something. I could do that. It's like when I read a script sometimes, right? I read it, I know exactly what they want. Sometimes this is exactly what they want. But this can happen. I remember auditioning for something once, and the script said he screams, he talks, everything he says is almost like screaming. So everybody going in there, I could hear them through the door screaming, right? Yelling, right? So I said, forget it, I'm going to try something different. I went in and I did the exact opposite of that, right? And I wasn't able to scream, but I was able to be different, right? And I'm sure I just got hired because they were tired of people screaming, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're going to the Mississippi, doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you get there, right? There's lots of ways to get to the Mississippi River, you know what I mean? And you just have to know that there is options all the time. So a lot of times I'll go up to a director or something. I did more later, like, oh, I can do it this way, the way you want it, but there's this other option. Do you want me to do an option of one to take this way? That way, when you're in the later on, 2 weeks or 2 months from now, when you're in the room, you need something different, or something, you'll have it,
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, the director will say yes.
Yeah.
So that's my whole theory of acting, is just, there isn't just one way to do something, right?
I agree. I
sometimes
completely agree.
And there's an actor yourself, right? Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I've had directors who, if you're lucky, because I have that same, like, it should be somewhat fluid with the script. You should go I'll do it the way it's written, but can I try something? Though that's perfect for me. But I've had experiences where the director is, no, you are saying it exactly the way it's written. There's see that ... That means you pause for a half second. I don't want 2 seconds. I want a half second. And you're like, wow, you are sucking the joy out of this part for me.
I know. That's where I think that the best directors are the ones who are open to anything. I hear people talk about John Huston. John Huston never direct people, or Clint Eastwood. Do what you feel is right. That's why you're hired. To do your job, right? And that's why I give people what they call options. And later on, sometimes I'll see the thing, and they've been so against now, and I'll try this thing anyway. I'm one takes. I'll find out they picked that take, right? So it works sometimes, and sometimes they're right, because sometimes they have a thing in their mind, and you go with it. Oh, now I know. You just never were explained to me, right? And but that's what you're there for. I mean, if you hire an actor, you're there to work on something together, right? To co-create this thing, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not like that. They just want to. They lose track of that.
I think that's that ego thing that comes in with the director. Goes,
Yes.
no, I am in charge. Nobody's taking this away from me.
Yeah, where's my coffee?
Yeah, like I will get credit for this, and the way he says that's because I told him to do it that way.
Well, it becomes about power, right?
Yeah.
And that's how sometimes people get with acting. It's all about, anymore, it's not even about doing the thing. It's all about who can make the most amount of money, who gets the best, who gets a bigger Winnebago, who gets the better, all the extras, and it isn't about that. I mean, some of the best things I've ever done have been for free sometimes, indies, because I believed in the script. I thought this would be a lot of fun. And when you're looking at a film, to me, a film is a cooperative, right?
Right.
The best films are films that are cooperatives. Everybody working together like this. Seeing a producer picking up the cable sometimes when they're in a rush. That's an amazing thing. You don't see that, very often. But when that's happening, that you're in the atmosphere of being able to create together, right?
Do you do you have a preference offhand for doing plays, musicals, or film?
Film and plays are so totally different, right?
Yeah.
Just incredibly different. Exactly. One is so much about, the experience is so different. I tell you, it makes it hard is, you do a play. I remember playing Cyrano de Bergerac, which is one of my favorite, guy with the big nose.
Yeah.
3.5 hour play. I remember doing it like after two shows a day, and, at the end, there's sword fights, there's this, there's that, you die finally. And at the end of the play, you come out, and afterwards, you have this amazing thing that happens where you spent an evening sharing somebody, like telling it's like telling, if you do your job right, you're telling a story to a friend, right? And you're there. In the end, you get to come out, and the people are there. They stand up or they don't, whatever. The people are there to thank you, right? The people, and that's what I'm there when I'm in the audience. I love it. I love you. That's why I'm clapping. That's why I'm standing to let you know we had a successful thing here. So they leave. I'm feeling great. I want to go and party. I'll go drinking all night long, and they're leaving saying, and if I can their thought about my thing can be with them still. Like sometimes I did a production called Danny in the Deep Blue Sea. It was just a really wonderful production. And I still meet people. I did this production 35 years ago, and I still meet people on the street to say, I saw you in this production and it changed my life. It was the best thing I ever saw. So, you know,
Wow.
and that's what kind of effect it had on them, right?
Woo.
John Patrick Shanley play. And that's so good. It's sometimes good. It turned out right for me. It means that it was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're in a musical, you have the incredible thing of, you know, getting an actor, you get to the point on, and you know this being in a musical, you get to the point where you can't act anymore. You're working towards something. It's building, where you just can't control this acting thing in you, where it turns into music, which takes it to a whole other level. And you know,
well,
you can't help that by taking, you know, by watching, you know, Wicked, when what's that great song at the end of it?
yeah.
Wonderful songs. What I would like said, like what's his name in a Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat.
Yeah.
Where you're up there, while they're you're dancing inside, and you're just, you know,
and it builds. Everybody, I
builds.
love when other people now you're singing it, but now here comes the second wave. The Muppets were great.
Yeah, exactly.
The Muppets used to do this on the Muppet Show all the time, where all of a sudden now the chorus of other voices come in, and you feel it through your whole soul, and you never want it to end.
Oh, there's everybody out there. It's a play called Candide, and the big song at the end of the show is "Make Your Garden Grow." So everybody who's listening, if you're into musicals, just sit down, turn up your stereo, and listen to this song at the end. And I assure you, I don't know how religious you are, but it is like being in heaven,
right?
Because it just takes you right there. And that is the same thing with these great things you get to do sometimes. And luckily, now that's what I get to do. When you're on a film set, you work hard at doing the same thing. You work hard, but you don't have an audience there for comedy, laughing. You don't have that other stuff cheering, you know, with you, right? You are working for this aperture, right?
Yeah.
Which no matter how much you try, how hard you try, or whatever it is, it's still this thing that's up there, you know. Yeah. Not only that, is you can be the most beautiful man and woman in the world, but if this thing can suddenly make you look ugly, you know, there are women who are beautiful, like just classically beautiful, but you put them on the screen, and some of because of the shadows in their face, the way it's constructed, it doesn't look right. And then there are women who are quite plain, or men, the same thing. You put this on there, and suddenly this thing becomes right, and the most amazing thing you've ever seen in your life, you know. So you do this, right? And you so when you go home at night, you just can't do anything. You've just giving so much that you can do is look at lines and everything and work together, and hopefully you're building art, and hopefully in the end, if people like it or don't, right?
And the payoff, I think the big difference is the payoff comes later, if at all, right? Like
I said, the payoff is that everybody sees it. It's great, and it always is great. And when you're feeling down, you're not getting hired or anything, you can pull out that old VHS, turn it on, and there you are in that scene.
Yeah.
And you say, God, I did. That was right. That was cool, and it will always be right. But there are the times when you look at it and go, oh my God. Right? Oh my God.
I don't need to watch this again.
Oh, I knew it was going to be a bad date, but I went on anyway. Because I said, what's the worst that can happen? But that's a great thing. And all actors, famous actors, should every once in a while, you know, look back at their stuff and say, yes, I can fail. And that's all right. That's cool. Because you learn so much by failing, right? You know?
Well, do you say you played guitar?
Oh yeah, I play guitar. I started off playing I was in a band. I quit school, joined a band. And then later on, doing a lot of stuff and old tunes together, you know, everything was on the radio. And then I thought I'm going to be a folk singer. I'm going to sit here and do like Leonard Cohen songs and make where people just depress the shit out of them. Sorry, you know, play nothing but A minors and E minors. And my name is Leonard Cohen. The song goes like this. It'll make you depressed. You know, yeah. So I wrote songs, and I started doing. I went to And then, like I said, I started. I finally went to actors. I went to a place. Somebody wanted me to do a play, and before that, actually, I went into this acting place. I said, I want to act. I said, I don't know anything about acting, but I want to act. And I said, is this a good place to go to act? And he said, yes. Here's this hammer. Here's those nails. See those people working over there? Go over there. Help build that set.
Act like a carpenter. Go.
Exactly. And that's what I learned. And watch. And everything I learned by watching. A fellow gave me my big was a guy called Len Cariou, who was the original Sweeney Todd. And he saw me in a play and he cast me in 3 small roles in Cyrano de Bergerac. So I played these things, and I would watch him play Cyrano de Bergerac every night, and it was incredible for me because an evolution of the way life turns out. I was able, one time I was asked to go perform in Pittsburgh. Are you from Pittsburgh? No.
Scranton,
Pittsburgh. And they had the Three Rivers Shakespeare Festival. Something happened like at the last moment, a guy dropped out. It was, I think, what's his name, who was the lead in Amadeus.
Oh, really?
Yes. He was going to play Cyrano at the last moment, and they need somebody. Somebody remembered me because they saw me in Stratford here in some play or something. And so I sent them a tape. There wasn't even a film audition. I sent them a tape on the cassette. And I was hired to go there. And I played Cyrano. Wow. And for me, it was like a way of going totally around all the way back to that same time, remember watching Len Cariou, what he did, and then except I wasn't watching him, I was the guy. And after that, I did Cyrano about another 2 or 3 times. And it was just, for me, life was just all about, I was able to do that,
Was it Tom Hulse?
Not Tom Hulse, it was, oh God, Maury something.
Oh, Sam, I'm trying to look it up here.
He won the Oscar for Salieri. I can't.
Yeah,
somebody will yell at you. It's
well, hey, when it's MacGyver, Stargate stuff,
he's in Homeland. Yeah, he's in Homeland.
Okay.
One of the actors.
Well, the reason I mentioned about playing guitar is because it ties in with what you're saying about, my wife and I'm a singer-songwriter too, and my wife and I we have a band. Well, like I play guitar and I sing lead, she sings harmony. Well, excellent. But I bring it up because it's addicting to have that moment when, same thing like a musical, where if you do it right, and it drives me nuts that people don't, if you're going to perform a song, do it right or don't do it at all. Give it your all, 100, whether it's my own song or I love Harry Chapin. Talk about people who
Harry Chapin, incredible, right? Stories.
And amazing. But if you're going to do it, you have to do it exactly the right way, because like you said, it's a story. You're going to sing, you're going to hear happy stuff, you're going to hear sad stuff. Exactly. You're going to all in one song. It's a journey. And,
you're right. You're right. Yeah.
And if you play it right, you feel that you've gone through that journey yourself. And when you strum that last chord, I feel I've done it. And you can't do any more. And the audience, if they're paying attention, which typically they are in there with you. They're in that moment, and they're like, okay, wow, we just came in for a coffee. Okay. And then you go, if you like that one, I can go for hours, because like it's that adrenaline. Like you want that? I want more of that. Let's keep that soul. It really is. It's a soulful thing.
Well, you remember the first time you bought an album, or the first time you heard, the first time I heard Led Zeppelin, I was in a record store and somebody put it on, and wow, I was just taken away. The love, love, love passing through your ear, and coming out the neck. And you were there, right? That was with music can do that, right? It's
supposed to, yeah.
And when you write something, you're saying, I'm sharing this with you. It's a personal thing, and I'm sharing it. I'm on this journey. Take this journey with me, right?
I find it to be, thankfully, with anything, I'm typically my own worst critic. So if I'm writing something, I'm really hard on myself, because you have to write words are not a problem. I could write words, no problem, but you have to come up with an original tune.
Yeah.
Like something that nobody's ever heard, and something where somebody's not going to go, wait a minute, you stole that from.
Well,
Let It
exactly.
Be, you know.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like Paul McCartney. Boy,
Yeah.
you're really good, you know.
Can't do that.
Well, that people that's you know, this exactly when you go, no, it sounds nothing like Paul McCartney. You know?
Well, it's funny too, because like I'll listen to a riff on something, for example, Harry
Yeah.
Chapin. I'll go, I like that, and I'm going to kind of use that in the beginning, but then after a couple bars, I need to change it because I don't want to rip off somebody.
Oh well, you know, the first time I heard Taxi,
Yeah.
I was just utterly amazed. I was talk about like watching with the whole story in my mind.
Yeah.
It was like exactly. And luckily, when I first grew up, well, you know, there was no videos, right?
Right.
So the way I saw or heard your song, the way it went to me was such a personal thing, right? You know, in some ways that killed music. In a sense, when everybody said you fell in love with the video of something rather than the song itself, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why just playing guitar or something by yourself, sing a song, and you're just presenting this, right? Sometimes you know it's not right. I mean, some songs have taken me like 6 years. I'll write the beginning of something in 6 years. I'll look at something and I'll put it back. Finally, it made sense, you know. And it's I said that my kids, you know, only thing that saved me in life was my guitar because I would stay at home and I'd bang the shit out of that thing and I would play music and I would write things, right? I didn't go hang around the 7-Eleven or all these stores or, you know, and they got involved in drugs and stuff like, well, not drugs, but later, but still that saved my life, right? That's why one of my kids, when they were growing up, I didn't care what you do, stop soccer or anything, you're not stopping to play piano. I said, well, and they both had 10 years and both now music is such a part of their life. Because I know it is such a great conquer, you know, especially if you're an artist or something where you can't even do your art. An actor makes it hard for you because you got to be in something else, and you're saying somebody else's lines in something, you know, until you write, right? You're saying somebody else's lines, no matter what. You're doing it great and everything, but still, it's not totally part of you. But when you're writing something, you're writing a play, you're writing a script. When you're writing a song, it is all about you and is how you feel about something. And this is my thing, and it tremendously helped my kids' lives. And I wish that, you know, they're always trying to take away these programs like guitar and drama and everything in school, but you know, those are the exact things you need.
And they pay off for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Like my daughter's learning piano, and my son, I'm teaching him guitar.
That's right.
And my daughter, who by the way is 9, well, she could sing harmony with me. I didn't teach her.
Wow.
It's a natural thing that she got from. I'm gonna credit her mother. I start singing, and I look, and my little girl singing the harmony to the song that I'm singing. I'm like,
she's amazing.
And she goes, "Am I?" I'm like, "Yeah." Yes, you are.
And why? That's because that's part of you.
Yeah. And
right?
Yeah, and her mother, because her mother can find the harmony in anything. Like I'm strong, I could sing lead, I could sing anything. I don't have a limit to my range, thank God. But she'll find something on the piano naturally. Like, you know how some people are just naturally able to find
they can
something.
just hear it,
And she goes, bing, there it is. And she'll sing once she hears it once. I'm like, my daughter now has that, and it's like almost like a mutant ability, but I love it. And I'm thinking
it's the greatest gift you could bring your children. It's the greatest gift.
And keep nurturing that. And like you said, it's for whether it's music or acting or
drawing or anything.
It's I always say this, and I think you'll agree. It's not about me. I feel like I am doing the service for the product, whether it's the role or it's the song. Like if I sing a song, I'm not going to half hiney it. You either do it right or you don't. So every time I sing, I'm giving it my absolute, like as though it's the best version I could do.
Yeah.
And then once that's done, move on to the next song and do it again.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So many people don't, and it drives me nuts because I'll see whether it's a local performer who got they're playing at a bar, or I can go down an avenue of people in the business who I go, how did they don't deserve where they're at because they don't have the range or whatever. you know, and it drives me nuts because I know I'm a very tough critic, but if somebody could break through to make me go, yeah, I like them, I'm with them forever.
Well, it's like things changed when they autocorrect. You know,
The auto
things
tune.
like the things are made like music is made like just bundles of bundles of bundles. Like they used to do tons of movies like that, just little slaughter movies, all these kind of movies, all the same movies. It's like, you know, it's like the city. But here's the situation I am with films now, right? When I was growing up, there were all these movie theaters, and each of them showed a different film, and you had all these choices, and it was incredible. Now there's all these movie theaters. There was all theaters, but they're all showing the same 6 movies, and they're always pointing you to where they want you to be, you know. And now Disney owns this, everything. There's all these things that are happening, right? So you can't discover anything by yourself anymore. That's why I say go back to the 70s. You want to learn about acting, but learn how they were doing things. You know, when those movies came out of, because they didn't know. I mean, Hollywood was failing then. They were making these big blockbuster musicals that nobody wanted to see. They didn't know, you know, and because the Vietnam War was on and everything. So they gave these guys, here's $1 million, make a movie, right? And that's where all these other movies started coming out, you know, which I just love, you know, going back to every once in a while, you know. And it is an art, right? I mean, it is, you know. And boy,
if you're smart enough to notice that, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate people who appreciate that type of thing. And so many people don't. And I feel like, you know, like I'm sitting next to certain people going, don't you see how great that little subtle thing is that he just did? That means so much in that moment. And they're like, no, I didn't. What? I'm like, oh, it infuriates me. Whereas my son, he's 12 now, he's already like a deep thinker. He'll watch something and have like his own analysis of it. Or like with music, he said to me one time, he goes, I don't get it. I said, what? Because I've taught him to appreciate people who could play an instrument, people who can sing, you know, people who write their own songs. Well, then he sees he's like, yeah, I like Sinatra that you've played for me, and I like Dean Martin, but why they don't play an instrument? I said, Bud, let me help you out. These are guys who are hired just because of their voice. They had to be so good and so in control with their melody and pitch that you know, they'll put a band behind a guy, but these guys were so unique. And nowadays he goes, well, why don't we have that now? I said, exactly.
But you know, they were starting to do that in musicals, right? They started to add singing from off stage, you know, like to add to the existing singing. There was a scene, I forget, in the Phantom of the Opera, I heard that somebody told me that, well, you know, he's not singing because you can't possibly do it because of the Monty's mask he's wearing in here. We can't get it all out. So we have to put that song, you know, and that to me just takes everything away, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, a song is a song. You're looking at what people 100 years ago, listen to the folk songs that were just set there. We suddenly start singing those shanties, you know, I used to buy the bills of boat and I used to buy the sails, or all the stuff. You didn't even have, but you had song, you had story. You know, and that's why you look back and you look at MacGyver and you look at Stargate. When you think about going back there, you're going back to the time that you first saw these things, and you know, those first movies that this thing you really loved, you look forward to all the time, you know.
Yeah.
And the reason these things were so good because they always were story first, right? It was the story, and then it was all the rest of the people coming together to present the story, just like the stories that used to sit around on the table at supper time and talk about and all those things. And hundreds of years ago, when they're in caves, you know, the guy would tell the story of how he almost got killed by a dinosaur. You know what I mean? And that's art to me. That's what is important, and that's what creating these things is so important. The moment you take something and see someone says, hey, this is great, you know, you see that with some early people, folk people, and other people, suddenly they got a different kind of producer and they try to change things. I remember they even did that with the Beatles, and you know, and it didn't work, right? They're just, we all need art in our life in some way. We all need, you know, and that's why these films, like I said, the MacGyver, why we keep on watching, when we go back there again, it's also nice to return. It's soothing, actually, to
Oh,
get
sure.
back there. And that's why people like yourself who are doing this thing are great, because we're tricking into our memory. The times when we used to enjoy every week watching what MacGyver would get stuck in the same thing. It doesn't matter. We know, but we liked it,
And they're also, and I could say the same for Stargate, as MacGyver and Stargate as examples. They're timeless. And with MacGyver in particular, it's still so inspirational.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're not watching it going, oh, let's do some nostalgia. Well, it's not about nostalgia. There's a very
Or they're not looking for the bad stuff. You're not looking for the things that went wrong and the things that are really crazy. You're looking at just the feeling of being there.
It's that very current electricity that makes it timeless. And that way, I'll watch this, it could be 100 years later. You'll still go, man, this stands out.
It's like that restaurant that made the best cinnamon buns you ever had when you were 15 years old, and you can go back there and the place is still there. And sometimes the place doesn't even know what cinnamon buns are, but they still make them the exact same way and they still taste as good. And boy, oh boy, does that feel good,
And I think honestly, you're talking about the thing that makes art well, when it's done well, I think is the sincerity. I think that has to be your foundation of anything. And
exactly.
You and I could use examples of where that wasn't there. So there's no foundation. So the art isn't there. It just became something that was produced, right? Do you,
it's like the kind of person you were too, like those guys, Richard, right? You identify with him. He was like your older brother. He was that, and it's comfortable. It's like, for me, Bonanza, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Bonanza, always watching Bonanza. You're just drawn towards it. It made you feel comfortable, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Now we always want to change things. We always want things. You see something in a series that's going really well, and you start to watch and say, no, they changed. Why'd they kill him off? Why'd they do that? Well, we need to make it people watch more. Sometimes just leave the thing the way it is.
Agreed. Agreed. And it's funny too, because I say we're in such a great, like I'm a superhero guy. Like I love comics. I read comics, and so anything that goes into that genre.
Oh, there you go.
I love. Well, you were in Watchmen, so you know what I'm talking about. We should just be happy with all the abundance of things we're getting. And you go online and people, what was the Marvel movie that was the worst of all of them? Why are you even thinking like that?
Oh, yes.
These are movies that couldn't have been done 10 years ago, and now we have them. Let's just rejoice and be glad.
And let's not try to control them.
Yeah.
Let them be what they want to be. Let them,
Exactly. Enjoy the journey.
Exactly. Enjoy the journey.
And maybe it'll inspire them to contribute themselves. Like you,
exactly.
Besides acting, you like to be creative. You like to write, you play guitar. Well,
exactly.
These are all the things that when I'm dead and gone, I want people to remember about me. And I hope people remember and I made a difference,
There is an artist in everybody.
Yeah.
And you just have to let it come out,
Mm-hmm.
in any way it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just even the way you write. You believe that in the written word, and everybody's mind looks like a drunk chicken on ice because I'm so terrible. But the curse of writing and be able to write, and that's how it is for you. That's the one thing as an artist that you're able to do, or you're cooking your things. Just it's important, especially in this pandemic. I say, stay away from the blockbusters. Watch some of those old films, and see what there wasn't there, why we watched them, how they made us feel. Like you said, with your kids teaching guitar.
Yeah.
You can't. I always tell people, you want to learn to play guitar, buy a ukulele. Because in the first part, I quit in the beginning because my fingers were, I was scared. Ow. But in ukulele, it's 4 strings. You walk around wherever you go, you pick it up, everything. My wife, during the pandemic, she always wanted to play an instrument. She's learned to play guitar. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
We have this time now at home, so creating is art, right?
Honest to God.
And look, it's like we're sharing what we're sharing here. We're sharing the old times, right?
Yeah.
About what we believe was right, what we believe is still good, right?
And you don't forget all that stuff. Like you said, watch the old movies. Like I had my kids watch Laurel and Hardy the other day.
Oh yeah.
which I think as a rule, and see if you agree. But when you're 15, by the time a kid is 15, they should start exploring beyond what is right in front of them. Go
Yes,
back and watch like the older stuff. Watch the TNT movies or the Turner Classic movies. Watch Laurel and Hardy. Because you appreciate the hard work and the comedy, of course, but just to do the comedy was such a physical thing. The timing had to be perfect.
I remember, and I get a lot of this because there's a lot of politicalness now in comedy, but you can't say that, you can't do this and everything. One of my favorite films of all time was The Party with Peter Sellers. I just adore Peter Sellers. To me, it was great. And now that's the kind of film you could never do now, but it is the kind of film that you should take an actor like Dev Patel or something and redo it and bring a new version of The Party out. But if you watch that show, you have a Indo-Canadian or Indo-American playing the lead, right? Which you never saw. Man, mind you, it was Peter Sellers, right? This was the 60s, but you had a positive character, and it was like watching those old Laurel and Hardy things and everything. And it is so funny, it is so amazing, and he was so amazing as an actor, And there are other people who are Indo-Canadians, Indo-Americans now, who are comedians themselves who could do that same thing and who are doing it now in films and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But now is not the time to say, you can't say that. You can't take away Dr. Seuss books. You can't, you can't sing it's not what's the name is a rape song now. Was that the
Outside, Baby It's
right?
Cold Outside. I love Dean Martin's version. That's my favorite version. My daughter, by the way, for years, and we do it together because I'll do, she'll sing the first part and I'll do the second part.
Exactly.
And once that started with that's a rape song. No, it's not.
Well, then change it around. Have the woman start saying "Baby, It's Cold Outside," right?
Right.
Everything doesn't become a rape song anymore, whatever way you want it. But that is something you can't do this. You can't say this. You can't do that. We can't, and we have to watch ourselves, And bad things are happening. People have done bad things, maybe, and they've suffered and they've gone to jail for them, or whatever it is. Artist, you have to separate the artist, what the artist does, and who the person is, right? If that person's gone to jail and he's done this thing, he's done his time, it shouldn't reflect that his art should not be seen ever and ever again.
Right. Right. It's that cancel culture mentality that we're in the middle
you
of.
Cancel all these people who are actors out there. You're canceling all the shows that person did on TV. They're not getting residuals anymore. They can hardly find work anymore. And you're taking money away from them. You're doing all these things. You're canceling it out. And you have to relook at everything as it is, right? Exactly. Don't separate the person who is what the person does, the art he does, and what he may have done, right?
Yeah. Well, think about
we have to watch out.
What's the it's a cliche saying, but for a good reason. Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. Well, if you try to wipe out everything that happened in the past, you're not going to be reminded not to do it again. Just understand bad things happened. Maybe things that, like you said, movies can't be made the same way they were then, but they had their place. You might go, ooh, that's a little uncomfortable to watch. You should be able to feel that uncomfortableness.
Well, Gone with the Wind. I remember it's one of the worst. I can stand Gone with the Wind, right? But it is, it embraces all that stuff. But it is a time of what people saw, how it was, right? That's like saying you can't say the Holocaust anymore. No. Say the Holocaust. Talk about the Holocaust. Talk about the bad things. Talk about George, what's his name, dying in the street. Black Lives Matter. All this stuff. Talk about that stuff. Don't try to change them and say that but they don't happen. And
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, like you said, there has to be a balance. There has to be. You don't have to be. Wow, that was loud. My computer made a noise. There has to be. You have to acknowledge it, and then you have to go. All right. Am I going to complain about something or am I going to do something?
Yes.
And granted, you have to know your limit as to how much you can do, but do it. But be positive. Don't keep repeating the negative. Do something to make it better.
And sometimes you have to go too far this way, I believe. Me Too movement go so far this way to be able to pull it back and rein it in, saying, no, we're just getting somewhere else. We have to be able to find those things, find the middle ground, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or otherwise, comedy is in the hands of the person who's being funny, right? They know sometimes they go too far, maybe in their people's eyes, right? In people's lives. I remember doing a play once about the goat. It was about this person who actually is in love, sexually with a goat. Edward Albee, one of the best playwrights ever known, and there were people in the audience who were just shocked that it was happening, and people were laughing themselves silly, right? But that's what he wanted, I think, to do,
Yeah.
And we just have to keep our, and you don't have to you don't have to like this person, but don't jump on this person. So you can't say that. You can't. First thing you know is nobody they'll start to second guess themselves on every single thing. I mean, I can't say this is not funny, and you're not being an artist anymore,
Again, it's that sincerity, but also
Yes.
be a good person. Whatever you
Yes.
do it well. I remember, I don't know, again, I'm bringing up Harry Chapin. He had made us a comment one time about at the end of the day, when your head hits that pillow,
Yeah.
did I add to the world today, or did I take away from it?
Yeah.
Did I succeed, or did I steal from happiness?
Yeah.
That's a great philosophy to live by.
Yes.
Because at the very least, there's people in the world who unfortunately are not as artistic as ourselves or don't try. But you know what? At least they're not taking from the world.
Yes.
Where there are people who are in the spotlight who might take, or they bring negativity with them to what they do. They're famous, they're making money, but are you really putting out good into the world?
It's sad, and you can't change overnight.
Right.
It can't be done. And so you have to change tomorrow. Tomorrow you can you can never wear red again. Red now means it's scary to people, and people are complaining to me. Every time they see red, they freak out. You can't. It's a process. I mean, the issue of Black Lives Matters, all that, and everything. You've got to say, for years we've been doing this thing wrong.
Yeah.
We've got to get it right. Now, it's not going to be changed tomorrow, but we have to know that now is the day we change. We start to change, right?
Yeah.
And these things, the world,
And it always starts with, I was thinking about this with relationships. You know how you always see these people who go into a relationship and it didn't work out. The person was great, but it didn't work out. Okay. But anything starts with you. Yeah. Everything, before you make a connection with somebody, how are you? Are you a good person? Are you being the best person you could be?
Yeah.
And then from that, it funnels out. So hopefully, and I tell this to my kids, if you're a good person and a leader, not a follower, you will stay the course, and good people will come into your life.
Yeah.
Good people will, and the bad people will go, ooh, and they'll kind of go off to the side. You might still have to deal with them through life, but they're not going to gravitate towards you. And that's how you get a good spouse, good friends, good career opportunities. Like you just, you're saying, they remembered you from MacGyver, brought you into Stargate. That's success. No matter what financially or for the world to know, you've succeeded as a person.
Sometimes, I think you get hired just because you're a nice person, that people like you, and they want you around, people around them who just believe in them and everything. And that's what it's all about. It's like a marriage. I mean, a movie, right?
Yeah.
You can't, if you're going like this, you just have to try to find a way to live together, and you as much as you can until you can't anymore, right? Or you're not willing to. But this is what the world is. We've got to learn to live together. My God. And this pandemic is a great example of how that we should be doing that now, thinking about it, because we're all, the whole world, fighting against the one thing that is killing us, right?
Honestly, like, hey, I'm stuck at home. Okay. I'm not digging ditches. I'm not, breaking rocks in a quarry. I'm okay. I can sit in my house for a year. I'm not going to complain. If it saves somebody's life, fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
And talking about having a good reputation, you reminded me, the first play, you'll appreciate this. I was a teenager. They were doing, my local theater was doing, I'm trying to think of what it was. It was either Charlotte's Web or it was a spoof musical comedy thing called Don't Count Your Chickens Until They Cry Wolf. Well,
I was up for that part. You got it, you son of a bitch.
Here I am. I'm a teenager. I didn't tell anybody. I just rode my bike down to the theater.
Yeah.
I walked in. I said, I don't know. I thought I would try out for what you need. I don't know what you need. Well, they said, do you sing? I said, all the time. Okay. So I sang a little, read a couple of the lines. I got the lead, and then I got like 3 other parts because they were like little short sketches.
Yeah. Yes.
With one overarching sort of story. Well, I thought, okay, cool. All right, good. And then when I went back, they remembered me, so I didn't even have to audition. I walked in, they're like, ooh, are you here for this? I went, yeah, good. You got it. I'm like, well, I don't even know what the part is. But like you said, if you have that goodwill, it works out better than you can even plan. That's the thing. You can't plan when things are going to go your way. You could just try and do good. And, that worked out well for me. I tell my
how awful it is for the kids in school who practice for 6 months on something, a fiddle on the roof or something else like that, or whatever it is. And then somebody complains, you can't do that. They can't do that part. They can't do this. And you can't put that on or something, It's horrible. You luckily for places like that, for school things like that, for the amateur theater groups and everything, because those are where you start. It's your grounds for art and finding what your art is all about. And you might only spend your whole life doing amateur theater,
right?
But that life is better than having nothing at all, right? And it makes you, I don't know, I think art makes you a better person. That's that wrong to say?
No, that's 100% correct. It has to.
Great.
I mean, like I said, if you're a good actor, great. If you're a good person, that'll come through in whatever part you play, which is why when you hear stories or see people who are in the spotlight not behave well, you go, you're going against what art is supposed to be. Art is a good, happy, like you said, makes you a better person because you're with the like minds, you're with the good people, that the people that are trying to achieve something beyond themselves. Why would you not?
It's like, somebody says, come on over, we're having a meal. We're sharing a meal with you.
Love that.
And you invite in, you come, you have the best meal ever, and you get to know me, the people like you, and you enjoy the people. And you go around each person, and eventually comes to it's your turn to share the meal, right? And that's what it's all about. Because you enjoy that, it's positive, and it becomes part of your life.
I love that you said that, because I've tried to bring this up with people, and I think it gets overlooked a lot. Just the simple act of sitting down with a person and sharing a meal. I think that gets lost. I think it used to mean something 1,000 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you were breaking bread, as they say. Well, that means something. That was a religious experience.
Yeah.
And it should still be you're sharing space, sharing your quiet moments with another soul.
Because I think it isn't about the meal. Now, first thing people say is that, well, what are you serving?
What are we having?
Look, I don't like that. Can we have this? It's all become just about the meal, but that's not. It's about sharing an experience, right?
Yeah.
Breaking bread together. And that's, it's almost a religious experience, whatever you are. We don't care if you're Jewish, we don't care what you are, what you believe in, if you're an atheist. We're just coming together to talk together, right?
Yeah, and common ground. And as long as you're mature people, it doesn't become a problem.
Yeah. And you think it's particularly in this particular time about life, you just got to do things. I was in buying some of my groceries the other day. I think of buying one thing. I think it was a bag of carrots or something. And a woman in front of me, she was really nice talking to me. And then she went up, and then I guess she bought her son gave her a Visa card and everything. And I guess she was nervous about using it and everything. They give you 3 tries on it, and then they cancel it, right? You can't use it anymore. And everything. She was just really upset and everything, She said, well, and I said, I'll pay for it. What? And no, you can't. I'll phone up my son. My son paid back. No, I'll pay for it. All you got to promise me is that you'll do something else for somebody else. And it was so simple, And it's something you can do, right?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like sharing this world. It's like sharing this play, sharing this thing. I mean, it's like I'm doing with you now. I'm sharing experience. We're sharing it to other people, and we're hoping that they like this thing and is making them remember the good times of watching this show and the people that were on it.
yeah,
And
the ripples in the water. Like
exactly.
I always talk about, MacGyver is so influential because it does just that. It goes, you can be more. Where there's life, there's hope.
Yes.
And that is ripples in the water. If you do something good or it inspires you, use it. Become a better person.
Both
Don't
of
ever
the things,
stop.
Stargate and both MacGyver about that, about getting out of the band, about being able to survive and to help each other. That were great.
Yeah.
Those are the most successful things, I think.
Well, I'll tell you,
Because-
your Facebook page is a good example of that for me too, which is why I couldn't
Well,
wait to
that's
talk
what
to you.
my thing is for sharing. That's what like conversations, meet people down there. You're just saying, I think this is what makes me laugh. I hope it makes you laugh. This is what makes me cry. I hope this makes you cry because it's good to cry.
Yeah.
And then laugh about it afterwards.
Well, a lot of times I'll share what you post because I'm like, this is inspirational. Jay posted something really beautiful. I'm going to put it on the group page, the MacGyver group
Well,
page.
that's what we do. That's exactly what we do. That's exactly why I put them up there. Because somebody shared it with me. I have the stuff in. I don't look for it. They just land on my thing and I share it with everybody else. It's passing it on.
Yeah.
It's like paying for the lady who left her wallet at home. That's all passing it on, right?
Absolutely. And it's inspirational. I'm telling you, again, I mean it sincerely. You're inspirational. And I knew that for years without even getting to talk to you. Cause I would see, your, either your interviews or I'd see what you post on Facebook and go, I like him. I connect with him. I want to know that guy. I got to get him on the show. And then I thought, I've been doing this a few years and I thought, I know he's always busy because you are, thank God. Always working out. Thought I gotta reach out to him. I hope I'm not a pest. So I was thrilled that you.
No, not at all. No. I think that's good, and I think you should be good. And it's like, fellow artists, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Facebook thing get a bit bad sometimes. They get the guy who runs up to you, batches you over the head, and then runs off and hides. You don't know where he is, right?
It's true.
There are people like that, and you just got to say no. You're full.
Yeah.
Or I got in big fights about it. I mean, there was a movie called Mother, which I just couldn't stand. I don't know if you saw that film, but I just hated it.
It was a horror one, right?
Horror kind of film, with the young actress who was I can't remember, blonde hair, and she talks like this almost. I can't remember her name. It was horrible, but I got into big fights about it. But it was good because we were fighting and we were also talking about it, right? And we agreed to disagree. And that's what the big thing is all about, sharing experience, and we moved on, right?
I found the skill of knowing when to go. I was on social media and somebody, like, we were debating whatever, and they said, "Oh yeah, well, you're stupid because of," and I went, I said, "No, we crossed the line now. Tell you what, you got personal and insulting. I'm trying to talk to you. Like, well, you just can't handle." I said, "Tell you what, let's try this down the road. I'll be here. I'll talk to you in the future." And they're like, "Fine." I'm like,
yes,
you got to know when to.
That's right. It was all about winning a fight rather than discussing about what you were trying to open.
So many people don't want to be wrong, and
that's what we have to learn with this pandemic. We have to be able to just, talk about, I mean, people, there's all these things about don't wear the mask. I don't want to wear a mask. Well, you wear a condom, don't you? You wear a seatbelt.
Right.
What's the difference? There are little things that we, rather than, it's like the gun issue, the whole thing, which is a major, it's all about just working together towards a common goal.
Right. What's another thing I always say? It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about what is best. Like, I'm willing to take the damage or the lack of, this being a parent for your kids. It's about what is best for them, not what's best for me. Would I love to let them stay up until I go to bed? Sure, because I love them and I want to see them. But is it the smartest thing to do? No, they should go to bed at a certain time, even though you feel I'm going to miss them. But it's not about me. It's about what's best for them.
But there are those special times when you say, what the hell?
Sure. And Special.
Put on the popcorn. Put on the popcorn. We're ordering Chinese food tonight, whatever it is, and we're staying up till night.
But you see, that's special.
And you're not going to school in the morning because that's a learning thing for them, right?
Yeah.
If they miss a class, fine, but it's okay.
Yeah, but again, the key word there, special.
Special,
People, I've seen, other parents who allow their kids to do whatever just because they don't want to get up and have to deal with telling little whoever to not do something, or I could be a little more firm with the rules, but I don't want to. Well, you're hurting the child. You're not.
Yes.
Right. But, and I think society, you have to think the exact same way with the gun issue or with whatever. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about being, I have to win this argument. It's the biggest impressive people that I've ever seen are those who can admit that they're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I saw a guy once, NRA guy. He said had his card up there. Yes, this is my NRA card here. And I've been NRA paying. I carry my own gun, all that stuff and everything. And he had this gun, his very Tammy gun, whatever, and he just in front of us broke it down. He said in Eric, and he ripped it up on, and that was the most powerful thing, because he had a choice to make.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to move my gun. I know I enjoy this, but I know for the greater good, for other things.
Mm-hmm. And you were part of that great MacGyver episode about the gun.
The guns, exactly.
Right? That
God, all about the guns.
Yeah, and it was one that really ruffled some of the right feathers too, as I recall.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had the actor on who played Breeze in that episode that was in some scenes with you, and he was saying, boy, that he was so proud to be in that episode because it wasn't preachy. It was very matter of fact. And you had the NRA coming at Stephen Downing saying, hey, you're making us look bad. And he's went, they're guns.
It was what was happening in the world. I think that it's,
Yeah. So that social responsibility is really important.
If it's guns, I don't know if it's guns. It is stopping to kill our children. That's the issue, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's simple as that. It's just about killing,
Yeah.
It can't continue this way, right?
Honest to God. But I think we're trying to be a force of good. I see that in you, and I appreciate that in you.
I think you got, we're all students of the universe. We're all here. It's all again back to just, we're being exactly like I said. Try to find the other side. Try to learn to live together, right?
Yeah.
And try to share. If you have something special that you can share, a guitar, anything you can to make somebody feel better or to make yourself feel better, just share. Yeah, share. That's the word, right?
Yeah.
Sharing what you know. That's what you're doing now. Why are you doing this? You enjoy it. You enjoy it. You're talking about, you get to meet different people, and you get to me. It's sort of bringing me back to a time that was really beautiful, like talking about that and sharing stories that I told you. I mean, I just love the stories. When I get to work with somebody on a screen and hearing the stories from them, and they start telling me what it's like to work with, what's the name? Tell me how to work with Woody Allen or how to work with, I go, wow. I worked with Shirley MacLaine recently,
Huh.
It was incredible, I just said, aren't you going to ask me anything? You going to ask me anything? Yes. And I had a question I always wanted to worry. It was all about Irma la Douce. I said, why did Billy Wilder take, which was a musical, and not put it into a musical? She said he hates music. He hated musicals, right? It was as simple as that. But that is where I think the actors now, because I see them on set, I see the people are down there. They're playing with their phones, right? They're not even. You've got this walking encyclopedia there working with you, and talk to them, talk to the people, talk to the Japanese are say express, do anything. Can I get you a coffee? Can anything? All that, just being around you, I'm learning something.
Yeah. And so many people don't get that. What was the movie that you did with her?
Oh, it was called Noel. With who else was in it? The guy from He's in Barry. He plays Barry.
Oh, sure. Okay.
He was in it. It was a Walt Disney film.
Oh,
And I played Santa Claus.
real again.
Yes, yes.
You've done that a couple
Julie
times.
Haggerty, Julie Haggerty, she played Mrs. Santa Claus. Oh, it was such a beautiful experience. And I had so much fun working on that show because, you know, it was just lovely.
I'm seeing. Oh, okay. You had Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader. That's who you were thinking of.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It was the weirdest, strangest things. I started that film. I auditioned, and they wanted me to play like a head elf or something because I look like a head elf, I guess. Yeah, sure. No, sure. And
Sure,
anyway,
why
I
not?
started that, and then I lost the film. They said it was becoming a bigger film or something, and they were sorry, but they would pay me my salary for you know. And I said, well, yeah, sure, fine. I know these things happen, whatever it is.
Sure.
And then a couple of days later, the director phoned me and said, you know, we need somebody to play Santa Claus. Would you consider playing Santa Claus? And I said, oh, sure. Because, yeah, why not? Santa Claus is a great part. Get a chance to work with people. Lovely. Came down for the day. It was wonderful. Did 1 day's work. And then fine. I did my stuff and I was happy. And then about a year and a half later, I get this call saying, my agent saying, they want you to come back. What? They want you to go write some more scenes with you. They want to beef up Santa Claus. So I flew to Atlanta, Georgia. And Atlanta, Georgia, which is wonderful. And I was in there and I worked for a couple of weeks on it.
Wow. And
I worked with Shane MacLaine and Ed McKenna was there. They were just lovely people. It was a great show. And it worked out better than even if I played the other guy, the elf guy. I got to meet the guy who was the elf. I forget who played that part. I think he was on a show that Michael Fox did. Family Affair or something.
There's Family Ties was his show.
Family Ties.
Yeah.
And he was doing that, and I got to play Santa Claus, and it was I spent a lot of time with Julie Haggerty, who was an airplane, and she was just a lovely woman.
Oh yeah, yes. I just showed my son What About Bob. And
What About Bob? Oh,
Yeah.
look at Bill Murray. Oh my God, Bill Murray.
And she's in that, and she's one of those actresses that she's identifiable either by just her look or her
exactly.
voice. She has a very specific way of talking.
Oh, doesn't she? Yeah.
And he was the one to go, hey, that's the girl from Airplane. I'm like,
Exactly.
Very good, you know.
Oh, there you go. I know. And we just spent a lot of time just talking, you know, about stuff and sharing stuff every night, sharing dinner with Julie Harrington. It was just incredible. She was just a beautiful person. And it's so nice. It was the nicest thing can happen to you. You see someone on the screen you fall in love with, and then you're working with them and you fall in love with them again. And they're so happy, you know, you can share an experience, you know.
Absolutely. I could talk to you forever. But I want to try and be the professional host. So
okay,
I'll let you go, but you're welcome to come back and shoot the bull with me anytime for the podcast or whatever, because this is fun. You know, I love going off on tangents. Well, before you go, what is the most recent thing that people could find you in?
She's hadn't. So I don't think it started yet, but I had a really nice part in a series called it's sort of a remake of the Day of the Dead, George Romero zombie series.
Yeah.
So that's coming out almost. If you check the Hallmark films, they've got a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
And what else is there? Just that's really about it I can think of at the moment.
So it's a new Dawn, or did you say Dawn of the Dead is what it's?
Dawn, Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. Okay.
It's a television series. It's going to be coming out starting, I think, in a couple of months. And
okay, because we love our zombies.
It's those zombies. Everybody loves zombies. I tell you, I don't know what it is, but everybody loves zombies. But it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. It was like being on an independent film. Everybody shared stuff. It was a lot of great, you know. Zombies were fun, and there's a different take on it. It's and I don't want to give it away.
Sure.
But it's a great. I think the people will pick up on it.
Well, maybe when it's coming out, I'll bug you to come back on, and maybe we can promote it for you.
Oh, sure, sounds great. My God, yeah,
that'd be fun. And
maybe we may be able to find somebody who's also in it too, and maybe we could just.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Because you could do that with this. You could just invite different.
You could do
people.
a zombie thing. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah. All right. Well, let you go, and I will as you know, be in touch through Facebook as we do. And
Oh.
and I hope someday I get to share a meal with you.
Oh yes, and I get to actually hear somebody playing this guitar and singing some of these songs. That's great.
I would love that. And you could play along.
Doing it, and hopefully once things are better, when theaters open again, there's a lot of what part, before I forgo, what musical have you always wanted to do? And what part?
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to go down a rabbit hole because the first record I ever had was The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
So Julie Andrews, who's one of the best female voices I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But through that, here I am, a little kid playing this record, and I would learn all the kids' parts. Like, okay, so that's that, do, re, mi, you have to do all the parts. And I was so strict with, no, I don't like the way I sung that. So I'd start the song again, play the record all the way, the song all the way through until I was happy with it, and then go back and do that. Let's see. Okay. See, this is another thing I couldn't wait to talk to you about because you appreciate musicals. Chicago, I love.
Oh,
I love that. The soundtrack to that is, again, gives me. We bought the movie, we bought the CD, and I don't know if you've seen it. Disney's version of The Music Man with Matthew Broderick.
No, I haven't seen it, but I know it was filmed in Toronto, so I had some friends in it, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Now, my aunt knew the Preston version, which everybody does, and that was made for the big screen. So when you show it on TV, and they're doing the big musical numbers, everybody's that small. So
I know, yes.
Well, as a musician, I can't watch that version because his rhythm to, well, you got trouble, my friends, right here, trouble, right here in River City. But you have to have a pattern as you're doing it.
That's Malcolm. That's Matthew Broderick. Right?
Matthew Broderick.
It was more Matthew Broderick than it was. What's his name?
Exactly, Preston. Matthew Broderick does such an excellent. If it's on YouTube, if you remember to look it up, it's done in like sections. Mm-hmm. That is the perfect version of Music Man. So now I can't hear anybody else go back and do it because the rhythm is so dead on.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking with trouble. I'm talking with everything. So it kind of spoiled it for me that I can't enjoy everybody else's.
It's hard.
I would say I would love to do honestly, any chance I get to sing, I would love to do it. But out of those three, probably Music Man, because I can do the You Got Trouble and you know.
That's great. Excellent.
Yeah,
that's a wonderful part. A wonderful part.
That I would, that granted, depending on.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Well, even the beginning.
The beginning is incredible.
On the train, the gun is the right?
It's an incredible way to start a musical. Incredible.
Honestly, and it gets you right away. My aunt, who again was, oh, no, I only watched the original. Well, she was over at the house, and I just happened to accidentally put it on. Well, sure enough, her and my uncle sit down, and they start watching it. And they're like, oh, they're toe tapping and they're all into it.
Exactly.
And the part where he first goes into the town and the whole town sings to him.
Oh, Adelaide. No, not Adelaide.
No, it's
you walk into the park.
You want to give Iowa a try?
Oh,
unless you are contrary. Right? And everybody joins in. By that part, they're going, all right, this is the better version. Okay.
I know. And only that he only did a couple of musicals. I don't know any other musicals that Meredith Willson, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Did. But it works really well. It's just incredible.
Yeah. And the dance numbers are great because, again, it was filmed for TV, so they know how to tighten in a scene.
Yes,
and do the
it's not
cuts.
The same. It's a musical. It's wider. You need to go down to the Hollywood Theater in L.A. and the big cinema. You need that. You need to see it. West Side Story. Right, West Side Story. You can't see that is bigger than life. When I saw that, I mean that sitting in the front row. It was just blew me away. I mean, that is still one of my favorite. I would love to play anything. I would love to play anything. And the old guy who ran the store, to be around that music every night, it would just be gorgeous.
How old were you when you saw it?
I was in really, really young. I come from a bad part of town. So me and some other guys, they really wanted to see because it was a gang movie, right? Gang, go to gang, it's gonna be great.
Sure.
They
Snapping
went there, right?
fingers
And I'm in the band, and they go,
When
and then
you're
they
a
all
jet,
dancing,
you're a
and he
jet
goes,
from
they
your
were
first
there, and I
cigarette.
met them, and they're looking at me, you're dancing. This dancing gang. And I'm looking at, yeah. Isn't that great? What are you?
What's the matter with you?
Get out of, we got to get out of here. Nobody sees us in here watching a bunch of dancing guys. So they left and I stayed. And I just, as an experience, I mean, West Side Story is just to me one of the best, one of the incredible, you know.
I saw it on TV as a kid.
Yeah.
And again, you're a kid, so
Right.
you don't, your attention span isn't there.
Oh,
But
of course,
yet,
yeah.
when this came on, I'm like, no, I got to see how this ends now. Ooh, he gets
Yeah.
stabbed. Oh
Oh
man!
my God, I know.
Right?
Romeo and Juliet, my God, all the same thing. You know, it's incredible. It's, you know.
But great
Yeah, there's
musicals, they stay with you.
Oh, it's lovely. I mean, I was really lucky when I got to do Bye Bye Birdie version with Anne Ranking, you know.
Yeah.
She was, I mean, I was after seeing, you know, with Chicago and with, you know, what was it, Bob Fosse, all that jazz. She was like this to me, right? And I always got to be rehearsals, and I was playing only the town mayor, but we were in rehearsals and stuff like that. And I felt like the closest, I'm in a Broadway musical. I felt it was so fantastic. Gene Sachs was the director. Everybody was so nice. And that is one of the real first musicals I remember seeing on TV, you know? And Paul Lynde. Nobody could play that part. You can't even go near that part again.
No,
you know?
you can't. No, it's definitive.
But being in a musical, I say to anybody, doesn't matter what you're playing, if you're saying nothing, be in a musical, be in the chorus, to be on stage with anybody and be able to sing those songs is like heaven. It is.
Well, I'll tell you this. The problem I had being in musicals was I wouldn't shut up. It wouldn't be my song. But without thinking, if you're off, you know, behind the curtain or whatever, and because by the time you're performing it, everybody knows everybody's lines, everybody knows everybody's song. So I'm back there singing it, and then they go, "Shut up! You're singing too loud. They can hear you over them." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry," you know. That
I know. But
go ahead.
that's about a musical. It's just you hear it on the radio. You do the same thing. People start singing because you can't stop, because it's catchy and it's beautiful. You know.
The other problem
it takes you away, that special place, right?
Yeah. And the other problem I would have would be, and this I always think of, I'm very conscious of it. If you have to do like a speech or a soliloquy of some sort, the rhythm. I don't know about you, but I don't know how many big speeches you've had to give, but I will, in my head, I want to get to here, but I'm here. So I have to pay attention, because there'll be times I'll be saying my speech and I'll be saying it too quick and it loses its rhythm.
Yeah.
Right? Have you done that, or is that just me?
What has happened with me? It's not forgetting lines. It's like it all depends on how hard the song is. Like, what do you know? It's some songs are taught differently, newer songs, you know. And sometimes it is, you have to really work them. I just did a while back Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote a new version of Wizard of Oz.
Really?
Yeah, and we took it on tour in the States. And the deal was, I heard we couldn't go to New York and open it there until, well, what's his name was still playing. Wicked was still playing. We did go through the States, but you know, sometimes musical songs are different sometimes. Like I could never ever in the many years even consider being in Hamilton, right? So I just don't have that kind of thing in me,
right?
You know,
and it's singing all the way through it too. There's really no. It's like Rent. When you see Rent,
exactly.
They don't talk. Everything from beginning to end is singing. So you're like, oh, geez.
Well, it's the whole thing. Right? Andrew Lloyd Webber has got. They're really operas, you know, in a sense. You know, in a sense, that's what I think. You know, I go back to those old things, like anything, like I said, Fiddle on the Roof, and you know, like Bye Bye Birdie, and I would just jump at any chance to just jump into those things. You know,
when you say,
I was lucky enough to be in Drowsy Chaperone. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard the Drowsy Chaperone. You go home, you look at that, the Drowsy Chaperone.
Okay.
It's a great role for you, playing the lead in something.
Yeah,
in Drowsy Chaperone. You would love it.
I'll definitely look for it. The
In fact, it might be interesting when you do these things. Next time is we'll come in and you get them to do things that they don't necessarily do, like maybe play a song or recite a little Shakespeare, a little something, tell a joke. They want to be,
jump through this hoop, darn it, entertain the people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've always wanted to do this.
When you did Guys and Dolls, did you try to model it, the singing part, after the film version?
Well, I think when you play parts like that, because I've done Hairspray too, right? And you can't say, I'm going to negate, if you're doing Stella, if you're doing, what's it called, the cat,
Sure.
was the cat hunting roof? No, not
Streetcar Named
the
Desire?
Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
You can't negate a person's original performance. You can't say that. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going totally the other way.
Right.
Because you're going to end up screwing up the play. You're going to do anything. You have to take whatever that person is gone, take it, and go further with it, either add to it, right?
I think so.
Because sometimes it's hard, You're not going to have people not forget Paul Lynde.
Right.
What's the matter with kids? You're going to have to just try to find a way to get in there, but find the people who may remember it's you, part of you, and part of Paul Lynde, right?
Yeah, I've seen.
Which is what I had to do when I can. Harvey Firestein, and it's hard to just go the other way. And
Oh,
just think,
sure.
you're talking like this, blah, blah, blah. Especially when the stuff is all down there, there's no voices. You have to find a way of saying it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I look at when I look at. It's funny when I look at other people's stuff. I look at performances of things. I try to find as much thing I can find, because sometimes you're working on something. Oh, I want to try it this way, and you see that person tried the same thing, and it doesn't work.
Right.
You can see your mistakes before you even get there. So you just try. I'm the other way. I like to read as much and research and as much as I can about the character who's done it. But some people say, I don't want to watch the movie. I don't want to see this. I don't want to go near it. I just want to be, and that's okay too.
I saw Richard Kind do it, and I saw somebody else do it, but they did it so bad. I'm like, you're missing the beauty of the song, because it's besides the banter of, everyone sits down, you're rocking the boat, and especially when it speeds up at the end. But the verses need to be done with respect too.
Yeah.
Like, when he starts it, and because you've done it, you have to treat it for how important that is, because you're telling I was, down and out, and this is what I was, and then I found my soul again. And they rushed through it. I got the sense that they rushed through it because they couldn't wait to do everyone sits down, you're rocking the boat. Well, by then you ruined it.
Yeah, I think you have to discover, but for me it was building up to that moment, right? So I played the character of that, not as an equal to, I think it's Benny South Street and he's somebody else, nicely.
Yeah.
So he was always a lower status gangster, I guess, in a way, right? In his own, to the point of where I don't think when he was in there, he really didn't think he was going to be singing a song, right? Or anything. And so what's his name says, sit down, get up, you big water buffalo, right? So it's terrified, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that you have to, that's my idea, was to play that, I dream last night, I got done, quietly. And so you had a place to go somewhere to the end where it's just bang and he's singing and everything. And that worked for me through the play, right? So just different things you find, like,
you're right, because he's like, he doesn't really quite want to stand up and be the center of attention.
You talk about Laurel and Hardy. So he was not Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, right? He was of the two, right? The low status. Exactly. That's good. That's good.
Thank you.
And that's where you have to find a way, So because you're all gangsters down there. So who says gangsters can't be nice and be low status, right?
Did you ever see Robin and the Seven Hoods?
Oh my God! I remember seeing that all the time.
Isn't
Those
that
guys
great?
in the end sing, that song, Mr. Booze,
Mr. Booze. I have the soundtrack.
Oh, isn't it?
And
that's
it's
never
not
been done on stage. I don't know why nobody. No, I don't think so.
Oh.
And was that a Frank Capra film or originally? I can't remember, but I just thought it was great. All those guys together.
Well, and to have, I love like Dean Martin, any man who loves his mother, and he's shooting the pool is man enough for, because the way he just, even if it's not a great, with Dean Martin, I always say he can make an okay song great because he leans on the words and he sways with his voice. And that's one of those great songs that he's just taking his time, shooting pool, and
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and that's a great soundtrack. It's not, believe it or not, it's not the same. It's not taken from the movie. They did studio takes, and the album is different than what the version that you hear in the movie.
Oh, I got to I got to check that out, you know.
Definitely.
Because to me, there was like just these guys who had the most fun in their lives making those movies, right? Like, putting them all together, and you know, you'd hear the stories about those guys just when they were doing, what was the one about George Clooney just did, Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Going there, getting drunk all night, and then going to work
and then doing a show. Then they do the Sands.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I have those recordings too, because when Sinatra died, that was right when I was getting into him, and I would scoop up everything. Like, all right, he's doing just what makes that little old ant, right? I'm like, I want that.
Yeah.
So I'd buy that album instead of just the one song, because we didn't have that option. I would get the album for that one song. Well, they start coming out with Robin and the Seven Hoods, 5
War
Rat
for
Pack,
Texas, all these things,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
All those
5
wonderful movies.
all the like 5 albums of them doing their Rat Pack shtick on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same routine, basically.
Exactly.
You get the timings a little different, or they might slip in a new joke. And I'm like, I want it all.
Yeah.
Give. You
But
know?
they look like they're having the time of their lives, you know.
Yeah. And it's all natural. Like they're laughing at each other.
Oh, isn't it? It's just great. It's just lovely, you know.
And if they did, like Dean Martin would do a Sinatra song, which he had never done before.
Oh,
So it was great. And he'd do it like a little more peppy, you know, so that he could sway with it. And I'm like, ooh, I love that. I love this version.
I used to love the Dean Martin show. You know, nerd, be smoking a cigarette, doing a sketch. Sketch, right? But the people that have more Broadway, Peter Sellers, everybody be come on. And it was always a fun night, you know. It was like, you know.
I got those. They had them out on, you know, you could get every month they send you a disc. I got that. So I would get them. And there's a little thing with his buddy who would intro it, and he'd go, he'd always talk with his hands. I can't think of the guy's name, but he'd always do this as he's talking. And he goes, Dean would never rehearse. Dean would come in because he wanted it to be real.
That's right.
And they would keep, if he messed up, they would keep it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's great. Exactly.
And like you said, you never knew that Sellers might be at the door. You'd hear, and he'd go and answer it. You know?
Exactly. And that's what makes it so cool. I mean, oh my God. Growing up, I mean, talk about learning about comedy. If you want to learn about comedy, I tell people, I give them a copy of It's a Mad World.
Sure.
Because you have there every major comedian in the world trying to, showing their stuff. And you watch that and you can learn about comedy, you know.
Yeah.
Jonathan Winters from, you know.
Love Jonathan Winters. Ever since I was a kid, because of Mork and Mindy. Remember, he was in the 3rd season. And I went, I love this guy. He's stealing the show. Well, he was Robin Williams' hero.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that was his idol. So
well, you know, I had a chance to be in a movie with Robin Williams one. I never had a scene with him, but it was Insomnia. And he was there, you know, when he came on, you know, because you got Pacino, you know.
Sure.
And you saw him show up, and he was exactly as you expect him to be, just walking around, making everybody feel great. And, you know,
yeah.
And I've got something to show you here. Wait, don't go away.
Sure.
Where is it? God. I keep talking.
I'm talking. I'm filling the air. People are loving every second of this.
I've got it somewhere. I've got this somewhere.
Don't worry. There's the power of editing if I need it.
Oh.
All of this time away, I could just clip right out.
I can't find it. Anyway, at the end of the film, and I didn't really, man, I said, man, I shook hands. That was it. Because he was walking around making everybody laugh. It was hysterical. Just Pacino, everybody. And, you know, and he was playing the murderer on this thing, right?
Yeah.
And I found out things, you know, when he passed away, I was in tears because.
Oh, sure.
I felt so. What do you do if you're the funniest guy in the world? Who makes you laugh, and you can't laugh anymore?
Right.
And I was just so torn by it. And he would bring stuff. I found out later from the guys working on the show that he had hired people, homeless people, 15 of them, in his contract for each movie he did. He's hired. They're kept on and they're paid and they work at a job, and that's what his gig was, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this beautiful of the show that's script of it where she signed and everything, was picture and everything. Jay, thank you. And it's sent to me. He didn't need to do that, right? But he did these things.
Yeah.
And I mean, that to me is that is a great student of the universe. He was. We're so lucky to have had him for time he had.
Everybody I've talked to that have Fred Goss, who's a friend of mine, I had him on my other podcast, and he was talking about how he was starting off in comedy. Well, they have him intro. They're like, all right, go up. Robin Williams showed up, but he's going to go on after you. He's like, what the heck? But he said the same thing. Robin Williams went out of his way to make sure that you were happy and that you felt supported. Exactly.
That's what he wants. And, and then to see him and Jonathan Winters, because I think he just was like almost his father in real life. It was his father Jonathan Winters gave birth to Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And to see those guys working together, it was just incredible,
When you when you do find it, just take a picture and send it to me. I'd love to see it.
I will do that. It's just incredible. It's nice,
You're just, that's lucky that you, like you said, when you appreciate the good people, it pays off. Like you say, you don't need to be known by everybody, but if you know the right people, you're succeeding.
Yeah, that's right. I just put through in the kindness of strangers. I would never been anywhere. I was just lucky to be able to do what I'm able to do. And you must always pay that back, pay that on. I work with some actors sometimes that were trying to get out, trying to with their career and what to do and everything. I just try to pass on information to them and everything and meet with them, just give them inspiration, saying it's okay,
Yeah.
It's not the easiest thing in the world. And there are times you don't work in this and that, but just don't.
I've heard stories
to have loved than not to have loved at all, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
I've heard people stories of like recently an actress, not naming names, but she was like, "Oh, I didn't get this part in this role, and it really devastated me. And I went through all this work, and I got this plastic surgery done, and I still didn't get the role." And I'm thinking your priorities are messed up. You're not
exactly.
You're enjoy the journey, as they say.
Yeah, it's like people, you got to think of yourselves like as an extra. Don't think of see me. No, an extra job is to not to be seen, right? Because if you're not seen in something, you'll get work again the next day, right? So the more you're not seen, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way it works, and that's what it should be too. It's don't want. There are times where when the time comes where it's all about you, and that's great and that's beautiful too. But you don't want to have that pressure on your back. That's what you see these suicides, these people take drugs because they have the pressure on the back. They think that the world can't go on without me. I've got to be this. I got to do this. I got to pick the right thing. I got to do my nose. I've got to do that,
I had a couple people would tell me stories of like bringing back to Richard Dean Anderson. He has the spotlight on him, but instead of doing that, he grabs other people and goes, give him this part. Give him this great line or this great scene. Like on Stargate, they would say there was an episode where it was supposed to be his character was the focus. And he said, I think this would be better for Michael Shanks to do. Let's let him be the, that's the stuff that, and not everybody knows it because you don't do it for the publicity. You do it for your soul. And hopefully the right people will remember that and talk about you and, but you don't do it for yourself. You do it to help somebody else along the way.
It gives you a chance to be rediscovered within the thing you do because people can get tired if it's all about you. It's all about, what I mean? You have to always shed a little bit of it around. If you've always got the best steak in town, you've got to give everybody a few bites, and that actually, because it helps them getting better. It helps them. It all goes, you all get paid back in the end,
Exactly. Listen, let me let you go because I can keep going and I'm loving this, but I'll be somewhat disciplined.
I'm sure we'll talk on Facebook.
Yeah. And like I said, you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you very much. That's great. You've run a great show and you're a great person and all the best to you. And have you got your vaccine yet?
No, my parents are my parents and my sister are going, hey, tell them that you have breathing problems. Tell them that you have this. Tell them.
Yes.
Well, okay, but I don't want to jump the line either. I'd rather
I
be
know,
a
yeah.
good boy
It'll
and
come.
you know,
It'll come. Don't worry about it. It'll come. That's the way it is.
exactly.
The way
And
it is.
hopefully it'd be nice to actually see you in person sometime.
Oh, I'm sure it'd be great. Now, where are you again? You're in Scranton.
Yeah, I'm in Scranton, but I travel. So like, if you ever do conventions or even work in the New York area,
Definitely.
we may run into each other.
We have to.
I hope so. But thank you again.
I've had a great time. It's been thanks for making my day. This is my high point of my day.
Mine too. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, lots of love, buddy.
Bye.
Take care.
The MacGyver podcast is part of the Forever Adventure Network. Some original artwork by Joseph Arnold. Donations can be made at Patreon to Mac Jackson. Look for our group pages on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at MacGyver Podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review. And remember, stay creative, everyone. The Forever Adventure Network. Welcome to the adventure.
Hi, this is Amara from the Always Podcast. I want to make sure you know about another awesome show, the MacGyver SG-1 audio series.
His eyes darted over to Jack's weapon. Sam, start taking all the gunpowder out of these bullets. He stunned Jack by taking the gun from his hands, and with one swift motion released the clip, discharging the bullets in the chamber before handing the empty gun back to the general.
It's written, edited, and performed by Mac Jackson of the MacGyver Podcast. He's bringing together the worlds of MacGyver and Stargate to bring us all new and ongoing adventures.
For some reason, something caused both Jack and MacGyver to glance up at the second-floor office window that hung over the large storage hangar. It was a shadow of a moving figure, a figure who now was staring down at them. Before they could say anything or move, the man ran over to the railing and opened fire on them. In that moment, they each knew they were about to be riddled with bullets.
Get into the epic story and hear how brothers Mac and Jack work together.
Suddenly, he spun on his heels to his brother. Jack, give me your phone. The general quickly took it from his pocket and handed it over. Yeah, it isn't working, you know. No, not as a phone. With that, MacGyver knelt down and smashed Jack's cell phone off the ground and cracked it open. As he pried it apart and reached for his knife, Jack stood stunned. That's my phone.
And how they disagree.
As he turned the engine off, he rechecked the inside of his pocket and pulled out his automatic handgun to check the chamber. As he verified the bullets loaded, he could see the disappointing glare of his brother in the seat next to him. What? This again? I don't like guns, Jack. Yeah, me neither. I like getting shot a lot less.
Subscribe and review today on Apple iTunes and like the Facebook page to keep up on all the latest episodes. I've been catching up on past episodes, and you don't want to miss it.